Wisconsin became part of the Union on May 29, 1848. America's Dairyland, home of Culvers, Leinenkugels, Summerfest, and the Green Bay Packers. Birthplace of Gene Wilder, Liberace, Frank Lloyd Wright, Georgia O'Keeffe, Chris Farley, Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer. UFO sightings happen on a daily basis. It has more haunted locations than it does bars. The devil himself created a playground tucked into its forests. For these reasons, and many others, America's Dairyland is also America's Scary Land.
Welcome to another great probing, the last probing of America's Scary Land, Lake Mendota.
That is not where we went.
Just kidding, y'all. It's Whitewater. We went to Whitewater. I just had to mess with Jake a little bit.
Got ya.
Gotcha! Yeah, Whitewater this week. It was very interesting. But before we get into it, you know what time it is. Frank, play that funky tune.
Okay, now that that's over, maybe you should do a thing by introducing our guest first.
Oh, yeah, we have a guest tonight.
Hashtag me too.
Oh,
He said it.
he did it. He did it.
He did it.
And I got scolded for not being able to do it. He's just jealous because I'm better at putting that hashtag in places than he
Anyway,
is.
who's our guest?
You're better at putting that hashtag in places?
Uh-huh.
Hashtag me too.
That's right. That's Haley, by the way.
Hey, guys.
She can say that. She's
I can.
allowed to. I've
Yeah.
been told
Apparently.
I'm not allowed to.
No.
I'm getting dirty looks from the animals in this building.
He's not talking about the cat and dog.
I am. But if you want to insinuate
But he
that, that's
is.
fine.
Okay.
Hashtag cat lives matter.
Not really.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so do you want to do what booze, the booze?
Yeah, again,
Booze?
Frank. Oh, so apparently the physics stability is
Low.
maybe the mic will stay up this time.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Before we derail, let's have Frank play that funky tune one more time.
What would booze do? Do.
Thanks, Frank.
Fucking Frank. Okay, so here's your question. Because obviously that's what we do on What Would Booze Do. 13
You all,
episodes in,
you all
you
know
the
by
rules.
now. If you don't fucking know, just stop listening.
Don't stop listening.
Don't go back and listen to all the other episodes and learn.
Yeah, don't start with 13, you dummy.
Just get fucked and go away, I guess, apparently. And it's over. Okay, so kind of a question coming out of left field, but hey, I'm curious. This is what you said.
A little curious.
I'm a little.
Okay.
What is the creepiest color out there? What color legit gives you the willies?
Oh, I do remember writing this.
Yeah,
So ever since you started this segment, I've always, I don't try to write them thinking you're going to pick them, but sometimes I do. And when I thought about this, I was like, do I even have a color that, I don't know, it creeps me out? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
It's a trick question.
It is. However,
A trick question.
as I typically do when we have a guest on What Would Booze Do,
Shirking
I'm
your
gonna kick-
responsibilities.
I'm going to shirk my responsibilities and kick the answer. I'm going to give first dibs to Haley here.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I've been pondering about what color. Can they be a combination of colors?
Sure.
I didn't write the rules. I just wrote the post.
Okay. I would say the colors that give me the most heebie-jeebies would be purple and yellow, like the Vikings colors.
Yeah,
But other than that,
I get that. I get the same sense when I look at cat piss green and yellow.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even though you both
He
are,
dug a little deeper on
Even though
that
you
one.
both are just arguing that it's the same fucking yellow.
Oh, no.
There's a difference between royal gold and
There's a difference between cheesehead yellow and
diarrhea cheese. Diarrhea cheese yellow. Diarrhea cheese yellow and royal.
Now, as you both are sitting here bickering, you still haven't convinced me on what color.
Oh.
What color yellow belongs to what team.
oh,
Like I said, you guys are arguing over the same fucking colors. You say all those adjectives you want to each of those colors.
You know what? The people that are right, they know what we're talking about.
they
And
know.
the people
You
that
get
are
it.
right, the people that are right are also left-handed. Ah, it fell flat. It's my bad.
And guess what? That joke's not going on the cutting room floor. That shit's real life. So what color is creepy, Nick? And if you don't have a color, can you just kind of go through the thought process of what makes a color creepy?
I think the essence of what's going on around the color.
That's fair.
I mean, so like, you know, even tonight when we were out, there's that, the incandescent light, like street lights have that really weird, like pasty orange hue.
Right.
Like that can be very creepy.
Indeed.
At the same time, I think they're probably maybe more fluorescent, but they're like you see them at like tops of barns. They're like the weird green hue.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of creepy. So I think it really just kind of comes into like the circumstance that's surrounding that specific color that gives it the creepiness.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's not a straight answer, but
No,
whatever.
I mean,
I think that's a very straight answer.
I agree. I think that yellowish orange glow that comes off of street lamps is really creepy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it can be in the right sense. Like, I don't know, fucking graveyard.
Whatever could you be talking about?
Yeah.
So, it is also Friday the 13th.
It is.
2000. No, that's next year. Fuck, it's 2019. My bad. I was sent from the future to fuck this podcast up, and I have 7 times tonight. This is the 6th time we are re-recording this episode.
Restart button again. Welcome to America's Scaryland.
Welcome to the final probing of America's Scaryland.
Oh, and look at that. 8 times in, finally said probing instead of episode.
I actually started the last one out with probing as well.
Did you?
Yeah, you just weren't listening 'cause you were
Never.
scrolling through your little invention there.
I just don't listen anyway.
So, yeah, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Not initially on the agenda to do tonight, but we threw each other a curveball. Yeah, I'm getting to the fact that there's a
She started
full...
She started a checklist and you just left her hanging.
Oh, I saw her finger counting out of my
Over
peripherals.
here.
1, yep.
Friday the 13th.
2.
Yeah,
Where's
Friday
it
the
going?
13th, full harvest moon, which is not what I'm saying because Haley corrects me or tries to say it's a harvest moon and I say it's full moon. But some people
it's
some
full.
people just call it a sling blade.
Oh, okay.
So,
Tension over there now, too.
yeah, so we went to Whitewater because it's known as the Second Salem.
Yeah, there's some witches.
And what happened in Salem? The witch trials.
Witches.
So why would there be a second Salem?
More witches.
Witches.
All of the witches.
Ditch witches.
Burn them.
So, yeah, enough of this silence.
Apparently, I took a hard stance on that. Holy shit.
Just flat out burn them.
And you had no backing from us.
We both were like, okay.
Jake, what are your thoughts on witches? Burn them!
Burn them.
I didn't know that I had such an old world view.
Burn them all!
Apparently, witchcraft, not my favorite thing. So I'm going to start like we usually do with these things. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory, a little bit of history. So...
What about her story? Why does it have to be his story?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hashtag, you're right.
Hashtag, I know. Hashtag, Jake's got to edit this.
Hashtag moving on. So the whole thing started in 1889 with Morris Pratt. He started the Morris Pratt Institute, which was the nation's only spiritualist college. He started it in the area that is now Whitewater because he was told by a psychic, Mary Hayes, that he should dig there for iron ore, which back in them days, iron was pretty important, I suppose.
Hey, so Pratt's digging for iron ore, right?
Fuck yeah.
And white, what are the first 2 letters of white?
WH.
And what happens when you combine those with the word ore? Just curious, asking for a friend.
Look on your face was priceless.
He's mad because I caught him.
Hashtag moving on. Again.
Oh, Jake, that's right. By the way, we're recording at Jake's house, which my favorite part about recording in my garage is the fact there's no fucking train that comes by.
Yeah, it's all right.
So
It's part of the ambiance.
Josiah Pratt found some gold tablets that Jesus sent down to him, and they moved to Utah, right?
None of
Sounds exactly like what he just said.
you
I'm
got
pretty
out of everything I said. You took one word and got it right.
And it was important.
Pratt.
Pratt,
Oh, I thought it was tablet.
Utah.
I don't like you. I can't wait till we start talking about the scary stuff.
Well, that's why I annoy the shit out of you until we get to that point.
And he turns into a little baby.
No, just call a spade or turn a little bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yes. So, anyway, fuck you, American Railways. So, yeah, he starts the Institute, psychic lady, and starting the edit from here. So, at some point, it got around that there was a lot of witchcraft going on. And there's a news line heading that said this Whitewater is the second biggest center of witchcraft in the country. And it coined the name Second Salem. Yeah, so that's kind of the brief start of it. We'll get into more. There's a little bit more going on, but I think we should take it place by place.
Do you know if there was actually like witch trials done? I guess when I was looking into this stuff, I didn't really.
No, I didn't.
You know, like Salem got the big, we got all the witch trials and that stuff. But even though it's dubbed Second Salem, was there necessary?
No, because I think by the time that this was happening, which was the late 1800s into the early 1900s, the whole
past.
Well, it was. I mean, yes, I think technically, but it was also more a thing of it wasn't so much like you're a witch, now it's time to burn you. It was like there's witchcraft there.
We got a thing called science. We know what you're up to. Ain't no hocus pocus.
I think it was more like we know you're witches and it's scary, but we can't just go burning people, so they just let it go.
But they're not people; they're witches. Okay,
Yeah.
rolling on.
Witches are people.
Hashtag witches too.
Hashtag where my witches at?
Oh man, it was fun doing this. I miss
Please,
it.
please make sure that this episode is called Whitewater Witches.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I've been trying to emphasize on Snapchat, and I don't think it comes across in text as it does vocally.
Nope, probably not.
But anyway, that's how it's supposed to be read in your little mind when you read it.
So witches, that's the whole point of this whole thing.
So, like I said, I don't know if you dug this far into this. So I found out something super fucking cool about the whole witch lore. Something I'd never heard ever, and it is super fucking cool. And it has to do with something I'm like pretty interested in, which is beer. Do you know anything about this, Jake?
No, because I'll be totally honest. I researched Whitewater, but then the concept of actually researching witches as a concept, over my brain.
Okay. So, a coworker of Haley and I, she had told me a little bit about this, and I dug into the research a little bit more. And so, okay, let's think of 5 of the major symbols that are known with like witchery culture.
Sure.
So
Witchery culture.
not everyone at once. Come on.
I don't know any. I didn't research witches.
You fucking watch movies and you
Black
watch horror
cats?
movies. Okay, got one. Cool. Got something for that.
Broom,
Got that.
the pointy hat,
Got that.
warts,
No, don't have that.
pointy nose,
No, that's not something that showed up either.
hairpins,
Uh,
Bugs Bunny.
okay,
Sarah Jessica Parker.
we'll go with cauldrons. I believe I heard someone say cauldrons.
I'm young again.
Cauldron.
A little younger.
Oh, did you say cauldrons?
No, I said Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, okay.
I said cauldrons.
Jake said cauldrons.
I know the things.
And again, I'm bad at math, so I think that was 4.
That's 4.
Yeah.
But I think there is 5, which I'll come across when I'm explaining this.
Okay.
So back in the olden days, like as far back as like 1993.
Oh, fuck. So far ago.
No, that's
long
not
ago.
true. Like ancient times, women were primarily responsible for brewing beer.
Makes sense.
Men
Badass.
were the ones that went out and did the hunting and gathering, and the women made the beer.
Yeah.
So as time went on, we got out of swamps and caves and stuff and started making houses and stuff.
Right.
Evolution, everybody. That's what that is.
We're talking about witches, so we know that science isn't real.
Oh, right. Sorry, my
Okay.
bad.
Let's argue that now. Evolution, real facts,
Hey,
fake.
it's the 13th episode. We gotta start getting fucking legit.
Evolution, fake news. What's happening?
Witches, real life, you betcha.
We're taking your calls.
Phone lines are open now.
Good luck with that number.
Because we don't even know it. I think there's 11 digits in it.
555-724.
And I think there's a Z in there somewhere, too.
Niner.
Did you say Niner?
So,
This is the movie quote episode.
it really is. I mean, how can you not quote Hocus Pocus, even though that wasn't from that?
That'd be great if it was.
Two comments ago, it was Hocus Pocus.
Oh,
I got that.
Okay, I was like,
Ooh, I got that one.
Witch, please.
Oh,
can't even.
what the witch are we doing right now?
Okay, I do want to know about these witches
Okay,
and their beer.
so the whole so
Bring it home.
I gotta bring it back.
Bring it home.
So women a lot of times brewed beer in big cauldrons. Yeah. And so
Symbol 1.
symbol 1. When the brewing was done, I just thought of the 5th symbol too as I'm saying this. When the brewing was done and ready to be consumed, a lot of times they would hang brooms on the outside of the alehouses to indicate that it was ready to go.
Oh,
Symbol 2, weird, but okay.
yeah.
I also thought like weird as well, like why a broom?
Sweeping them in.
I guess so. I don't know.
I like that.
Symbol 3, the star was used to indicate the potency of.
Like the 5, the Satan,
So that was a part when I was reading.
Pentagon.
When I was reading this, I think it said 6-pointed star. Riley, no one cares. But I'm not.
She was agreeing with you.
Anyway, it's the star was used to indicate the potency of the brew. The hat, I don't. The hat is kind of the more interesting one to me because it's like logically makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. So the hat kind of came in later when men started taking over for brewing more. At farmers markets, women would actually wear tall, pointy hats to stand out in the crowds and kind of set themselves apart.
Oh.
So that's where the hat comes in from.
Cool.
And then the cat thing, which again, it just makes sense. I don't know where the black aspect of the cat came from, but the women would use cats to kind of safeguard the grain houses and keep mice out of the grain houses.
Okay.
So I don't know. I read that. I found all of that history of witches like super fascinating because I mean it has to do with beer, which is super cool. I don't know. It's just like really cool that all. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's neat.
it ties together then. So like as men became more predominant in the brewing scene, they started to like kind of villainize women, like don't buy from her, buy from us.
Right.
And that's kind of how the whole ball supposedly got rolling with witches are evil and blah blah blah.
Right.
Because another thing I had read was they would use tactics like but a woman who's really knowledgeable in what herbs and grains can nourish you or kill you or like heal you or whatever can, I don't know. I just, all of that was
all of the mixtures of all the ingredients, like I'm sure it was like a situation where they were having the, they're putting all those ingredients together and like, well, that person's crazy for doing that, and that's where they probably got like the witch's brew from, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to get the same amount of ingredients like every time,
right?
And then I'm sure like when,
or just the simple terminology when we think about witches, and we've all heard witches brew,
right?
Yeah.
None of us have made that connection ever thinking that it had something to do with beer,
with actually brewing,
with actual beer and brewing,
right? And
it's
consumption
just kind
of it.
Just fascinating.
Well, and the way it probably made people feel too, right? Like if it's beer.
That's true. I didn't even think about that aspect of things.
Right. So then they're like, oh, those people are obviously wacky.
Yeah, she used this.
It could be seen as like
she put this certain ingredient in it, and I mean, like right now we have beer with CBD in it.
Right.
Now,
you could be seen as like putting a spell on somebody,
exactly.
Or, and some sort of incantation of some kind.
He made me, she made me fall in love with her. Yeah. Well, no, you had fucking drunk goggles on.
She made herself look beautiful and young.
Her beer goggles.
Nah, you were just fucked up, bro.
Yeah.
makes sense. I get it. I like that.
It was just a
That's
it was
a
just
little
cool.
tidbit.
It's
I
very
like it.
interesting.
So that little tidbit is brought to you by Julie Bergeron. She's not gonna be happy
definitely
with
That's a
her
fucked up last name.
She's not gonna be happy with the way I pronounced it.
She's got good little tidbits like that, though.
Oh yeah, no,
So you're saying we should have had her on the podcast?
She's a good nugget.
I told her we were going to Whitewater, and she pulled me aside. She's like, "Hey, did you know this?" And I was like, "No, I did not." And I'm going to make sure that I find it on the internet and verify that it's true. Because if you find it on the internet,
it's obviously true.
It's not that I don't believe you, but Google.
But hey, if it's on the internet, it's true.
So that's pretty interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, I was like holding on to that for the last couple of days, getting ready. 'Cause
That's
I was like,
very
that's
nice.
super cool. So that's it. I'm gonna actually. You guys can finish the podcast.
Oh, okay. Bye, Nick.
That was all I needed to say.
Thanks for everything.
You guys have a good night.
He literally was
we
like,
appreciate you being here
all week, I have 30 seconds of material and then I'm out.
every time.
So I don't know if maybe you want to go over like a brief history of what you know, just having been there for so long. Anything that I didn't cover with Mr. Pratt?
Mr. Pratt. The house or the school, I guess, that they were in is still in Whitewater, and it's still up. It's Realty
Right.
firm now, or company. Tincture Realty is what their name is.
And the Pratt Institute is actually still going. It's just located in Milwaukee now.
Yeah. So they moved to Milwaukee in I believe it was in the early 1930s.
Right.
That's when they moved to Milwaukee. Yeah, and it's still running and everything like that. Obviously, I don't think they're practicing crazy stuff
No, it's probably like crystals and spirituality.
Right.
Spirituality. That's not.
There we go. Spiritual.
Fuck. That's making up.
What y'all doing in here? You guys doing a podcast?
Yeah. Sit down.
Can I be part of it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks.
Now that you're through your 30 seconds of material.
Well,
Riley.
I'm probably gonna have to pee again in 10 minutes, but
Yeah,
that's
obviously.
the only advantage to recording in your house.
You should.
I think this is the first potty break you've ever taken
ever
ever.
in a
Well,
podcast
in
recording.
these 13 episodes.
So what were you guys talking about?
So we were just going over the Pratt Institute and how the building that was used is still there, but now it's like a realty company. And
I'll be honest, having not done my research on any of this, really didn't work out in my benefit tonight.
Nope.
Normally it does because I can kind of bullshit my way through stuff, but I thought y'all were talking about Chris Pratt all night. I was like, wait, that dude from Guardians of the Galaxy? All night I was like, he built some shit and it had to do with witches.
you didn't know that not only was he a few hundred years old, but he's from Whitewater, Wisconsin.
I didn't. That blew my mind.
Wait, Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Did not know that shit.
He's in.
I was all night you guys were still like, Pratt. And then we were looking for his grave at one point, and I was like, he's not dead. I just saw him.
He was in Pineapple Express, right?
Yeah, it's the guy that had to cut his arm off when it got stuck in the rock.
Right. That was 48 hours.
It was the what is it called? The first 48.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because that's when the most exciting parts of movies happen, is within the first 48 minutes, and the rest is all bullshit.
Right.
What's the point of watching them?
I know they
I
should.
stop after 48 minutes.
I cut all my movies off at 48 minutes.
What's
Like
the
I've
point?
never finished Titanic. I have no idea what happens at the end of that movie.
They get to New York.
Oh, well, all right.
They
That's
live
fine.
happily ever after.
Billy Zane sees the error of his ways,
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
and we find out
I'm actually not mad that you guys spoiled that. What's it? Say
the
what?
door's not big enough.
Oh, for what? The people to get through?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
They're not handicap accessible.
Well, I mean, why would they be? They're on a boat.
12 was a very intolerable year.
But they make good root beer.
Yeah.
Nope, that's 1919. That's 7 years later. Again, I've been sent from the future to destroy this podcast.
So
Getting back on track, fellers.
let's jump in there. Where was the first place we went tonight?
We went to the water tower. The names are gonna escape me, but
What's the name of the park?
Staring Park.
staring, because a bunch of perverts just live there staring. You walk around the water tower, guess what's in the darkness? Perverts staring at you.
So why did we go to this particular tower? I'm just gonna start sandbagging everything he said.
That's fine. I can get it in.
That's what she said.
Oh, shit. I knew that was coming.
No, it's okay. We didn't say it.
Yeah.
She literally said that.
I know.
So it's okay.
So she literally did say that.
That's fine. Why do we go to this water tower?
Yeah, we'll have to go there.
It's significant.
What's its name? What do they call it?
Fun little tidbit before we get into that.
Here we go again. Bye, Rails.
Did you know that back in the olden days, all the symbols that we know from witch culture, it's called the witch's tower, right?
Yes, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Telling you the story for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys heard this one?
Stop me if you've heard this, but don't talk.
Yeah, the witch's tower, right?
Yes.
Is what they call the water tower.
Yes.
And so the history of the okay, not like the architectural history, but I had heard you guys say something about, wasn't there like a janitor or some like city worker that got stabbed there at one point?
I think
I read something about that.
no, it was. I want to say it was like a campus security guard.
Yeah.
He got like jumped.
Yeah, because there was like kids up there fucking around or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd read that.
Yeah, which is just another one. Like we discovered that apparently there's been every other dorm room somebody just died.
Yeah.
Town is just full of death. Apparently,
It really is.
Well, Haley, you went to Whitewater.
I did
for
go to
a while.
Whitewater. Yeah.
And I did not know that when I invited you to be on the podcast.
I know. I thought that was very interesting. So I appreciate you inviting me.
It was kismet.
It really was. It really was. Yeah. There's the dorms on, especially on the side that the water tower is on, had someone either die in them or die near them. So they're pretty haunted.
would you like to know why they call it the Witch's Tower?
Yeah, I would love to know why they call it the Witch's Tower.
So the whole witchcraft thing in Whitewater was because apparently there was an actual witch coven there, and they had a sacrificial altar area. And what ended up happening is when they died, they were buried there, and then the tower was built to kind of cover it all up.
Sure.
So it's believed that underneath the tower is still the altar,
Right.
and I would assume graves of witches. So that's why it's the Witch's Tower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't get a chance to do, which I didn't know, pun, whatever, I don't care. There are supposedly tunnels, or a tunnel, underneath the Witch's Tower that actually runs to the basement of a nearby bed and breakfast.
Right.
That was either, I don't know if it was necessarily part of the Underground Railroad or
there's
like a similar idea of like the Underground Railroad.
Well, it's unconfirmed. There isn't actually any confirmed for sure happenings, but it is believed that Whitewater was a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was one in Mineral Point, I want to say was an actual, they have historical record that slaves were brought up through there.
We should know.
Yeah, well,
We went through them archives.
yes, and I just, okay. I couldn't remember if it was Whitewater for sure. It wasn't. It was Mineral Point. But Whitewater, spooky. Whitewater, there's rumors that that's what the tunnels were for. But there was also a lot of talk that that's where a lot of rituals happened. And that not only is there one main tunnel, but there's some offshoots that go to different. Because all the houses, especially in like towards the downtown campus area, are like old colonial like mansions essentially that are now like probably 5-bedroom college.
Sorority, fraternity houses. Yeah.
And that was one thing we didn't get to do because by the time we rolled into town, it was decently late, and I didn't really want to call that bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and like there's a story from the 80s from a sorority house, Alpha something. Alpha. Hold on.
It's in your notes. You have it. You said it in the car.
Alpha, Sigma, Alpha.
Good job. Alpha
Alpha
Sigma.
and Omega.
They had it's right there on Main Street. We actually drove past it. There had some of the girls were there one night, and they heard some weird noises in the basement, which to me shows how like brave kids in the 80s were. Because if I heard noises in my basement and there weren't supposed to be people
in
there,
the 2000s,
I'd run and I'd grab a pencil and then I would.
in the comedy world, let's call it a throwback, because if you haven't heard that story on our prior episodes, sucks to suck.
Go back to episode 1. Hashtag look it up. We're stealing that for this episode. Anyway, so they go down in the basement, and they're like, what the fuck was that? And they look, and there's bricks and debris on the ground from like an old entrance to one of these tunnels that just popped open. And from then on, the house is haunted. It's creepy shit. So it's pretty interesting to think that there's probably just a lot of tunnels under the town, especially if there was use for it. So
Yeah. Again, I didn't have high hopes that we'd be able to get in, and I'm sure that people that know about this, it's public knowledge as far as like being on the internet about this tunnel or the rumored tunnel.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure they get calls about it quite often.
Especially in a college town, I feel like
Yeah.
kids don't have anything better to do. So, yeah. So
We went to a couple other places too.
yeah. So one of the
We
other,
went inside the haunted Bermuda Whitewater Triangle.
well, that's the thing.
Isosceles shape.
That's the thing is there's three cemeteries and they're actually pretty big. I was surprised by the size.
Well, we can confirm that 2 are big.
2 are big. One,
One may or may not have a murderer hiding in it, waiting for us.
yeah, we'll get to that one.
More-
We couldn't find that out.
More
so-
on that later.
But the 3 cemeteries, when you draw lines between them, form a perfect isosceles triangle, with Whitewater, UW kind of in the middle. So that's freaky. A lot of stuff happens in that. The witch's tower is in that circle and next to one of the cemeteries.
Didn't you or one of you say earlier that the inside of the triangle itself is where the most deaths have happened?
Yes.
Yeah,
In the town.
the most deaths, the most reported hauntings, all of that stuff.
So it was, again, my research has failed me because I didn't know hardly any of this
Yeah.
going into this tonight. I knew Whitewater, witches, and that was all. And then this tidbit I found out on Wednesday. So
No, it's pretty interesting, all the stuff that goes on inside Whitewater and how I feel like there's like a culture there of it. Like we went tonight and we had drinks and ate at
Second Salem Brewing Company.
yeah, which is
That's not a plug.
no, it's a really cool little pub eatery thing.
Yeah, it's if you're missing Halloween at, say, I don't know, May, head on down to Second Brewing Salem Witch Trials Pub.
All of those.
No.
All of those things.
Second Salem Brewing Company. It's not Halloween themed, but it's very, I would say it almost embodies this podcast.
Yeah, it ties into it.
Yeah, the whole decor, everything in there was super, super all about this podcast. So if you're ever in the area, check out.
Second Salem Brewing Company. Good job.
I let it open for one of you guys to say it.
Oh, did you?
Um,
Okay, thank you.
So after we ate, we then headed. No, actually, before we ate, we went to the first of 3 cemeteries.
yeah, we went to Calvary Cemetery, which is right there on campus, which is also fucking weird.
It's really weird. I
And-
mean, it was always creepy.
And yeah, it's got a fence, but it's got holes in the fence, and not like someone came around and like cut the chain link, like designed just gaps in
Yeah,
the chain
a couple
link
places look
where
like they
you
may
can-
have been replacing it and just haven't yet.
Yeah, so we just walked right in, just because
Now this cemetery's got two weird things. You, Haley, heard something different, but from what I've researched, that's where the biggest thing is that's where Mary Worth is supposedly buried. And she was a suspected witch and axe murderer.
Yeah.
From back in the day, and she's kind of associated with the Bloody Mary thing. So
Yeah, so if you
Beetlejuice rules.
yeah, Beetlejuice rules for sure. But if you go to the cemetery, especially if you go on the eve of Halloween and you say her name 3 times, like Bloody Mary, you're supposed to see her and see her spirit and
only
see
if
her
you're holding
ghost.
a mirror.
Yeah, and only if
Only
you're holding it
hold-
at a 90-degree angle, so you can
And it
see
can't be one of them chintzy little like pocket mirrors. You got to take
No.
a whole bathroom vanity
It
mirror.
actually has to be like a shatter part of the mirror. You know, you break it and it's got to be like that shattered part.
So you got to bring bad luck and
Yeah.
hauntings.
Yep.
And a ladder to walk underneath.
Fuck. Glad we didn't try to do this. That's a
And then
lot
a black
of work.
cat will get hit by a car.
And make sure you step in as many cracks on the sidewalk as you can on the way to the cemetery.
So on top of the Mary Worth, I'm going to call it a legend.
Yeah.
There's a legit thing that happened that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Which is some students one year decided to
Nice.
dig up a body.
No, you said witches without knowing it.
Did I?
Well, you combine the word witch and is.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
witches.
became witches.
Witches.
But, continue with your...
My dead baby story? Because that's what happened.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Some
hey.
students dug up the body of a dead baby.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me that up there. It was super fucked
They,
up. I felt really
they
fucking
put it
weird.
on the steps of one of the dormitories as a haha funny pranks.
And then apparently they never fessed up to it. So they never...
I don't think they ever figured out who did it.
No, they never figured out who did it. They assumed because it was on campus that it was students.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, a lot of people believe that it was
I mean,
witches.
what... Straight up, though, what sort of fucking degenerate do you have to be? Like, first off, any person that's not doing any sort of, like, crime investigation that digs up a body. Yeah. First off, that in itself is fucking creepy and weird and just degenerative. On top of that, to dig up a dead baby?
Yeah, and you can't even like be like, "Oh, we didn't know it was a baby going in." Like, no, fuck no, you didn't.
No, like, oh.
It was with a coffin and everything.
Yeah, even if before you get to, like, oh, there's a baby skeleton, look at the size of the fucking coffin.
Yeah.
Look at
What do they got
Or
in
the
here?
dates.
What is this? A
Or
I
the
dead
say,
dates
look at the
that you're-
tombstone that says
Dead bird?
the kid was 4 seconds old. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, that all around is just fucked up.
So it's pretty fucked up, and I mean the town. Like I made the joke earlier that it seems like there's like 300 deaths a year from, but there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in Whitewater.
I mean that all of that, like, lore, just the whole kind of...
I mean, every single dorm on that campus sits within either inside the isosceles triangle or right outside of it. So there's something that happens in every single dorm.
And just knowing, like, that when I got there, again, not having researched, knowing that when I got there made everything that much, like, just had a slightly more, like, edgy
Yeah,
air
like a
of...
chill to it.
Yeah, it was... Like, even when we were just, like, driving around town, I was like, fuck, something... And again, it's Friday the 13th with a full fucking moon. So my whole... Like, just the whole night, I'm just like, what the fuck's gonna happen? Like,
Imagine
something's
living
gonna,
in
like...
one of those dorms.
See, and I don't know if it
See,
was.
that's why you don't go to college.
Oh,
You just work. You get out of college, and you fucking work, and you do a podcast.
PSA kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if it was because it's Friday the 13th or it was and the full moon and all that, but that town just got a weird vibe to it.
It does. It's a spooky vibe.
It's like when you think of like a horror movie town where it's like something's off here. It's that.
Now, did you, Haley, did you know a lot of this stuff before you went there for school, or did you kind of learn all of this as you were there?
No, I learned about it. I knew a little bit because I had friends who went there before I did, a year before me, and they stayed in those dorms. So those were where I heard a lot of the stories, and then I witnessed some of those stories, like microwaves and like electric stuff being turned on all the time, because the woman who died in our dorm, and our
didn't
dorm
like
is named
electronics.
after,
She didn't like electronics.
was still in there, and stuff like that. So
Which dorm was that?
Nylon's Hall, which is right by the Witch's Tower.
Right. Yeah, we
Yep.
saw that when we walked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so, no, I didn't really know a lot other than that it was haunted, but I learned a lot more.
So yeah, we walked by Nylon's
Yep.
dorm, and you won't creep me out the most.
What?
So there was
Those lights.
there was 3 lights, but that wasn't even the creepiest part. The creepiest part is that Nylon's has a silent K in it.
Right?
I saw the sign and I was like, "Fuck!"
Like knife.
Yeah.
Hey, be nice to that waitress.
She
was very
will
nice.
not listen to this podcast, so I have no fucking problem.
You don't
saying
know
this.
that.
Our waitress tonight,
Could be our biggest fan.
legit,
She still should be.
legit. I don't think she was even trying to be
She
funny.
wasn't.
She was very sweet, but she straight up pronounced the K in knife, like hard pronunciation of it too. She
It was
gave
probably
us our
a joke.
Food. She gave us our food, and she came back with 3 knives, as she said, wrapped in napkins, and then walked away. And Haley and I were the first 2 to be like, huh? And then Jake's like, yeah, I thought I heard it too. And we all confirmed that we did.
She said knives.
She fucking said
You be nice to that waitress. Okay.
If you're listening, it was very sweet of you, and thank you for giving us that entertainment without knowing it. It was very, very kind of you.
You're right, though. She probably won't listen to it because she says she doesn't like creepy stuff.
That's
true.
true.
Yeah, that's true. She didn't know it. She grew up in Whitewater.
She grew up in Whitewater. She didn't know anything about any local haunts. She said
she knew the Witch's Tower.
She said, "Oh, the Witch's Tower," and we're like, "Uh huh."
And
go on.
And she went, "No, but I can see it out my window, so that's it."
She said, "I live there."
She said, "Leave me the fuck alone. You guys have other tables to take care of." Walked away.
Fucking nerds coming in here.
Like at first, I said, "Yeah, we do a podcast on the paranormal," and her eyes kind of like lit up a little bit. She was like, "Oh," and then she just stopped giving a fuck.
I don't think she knew what paranormal meant.
No, I think she heard you go podcast, and she went, "I've heard of podcasts," and then
that's what nerds do.
You went paranormal, and she went, "You had me at pod, you lost me at everything else."
You had me at knife.
Drove a knife right to my heart. So yeah, the first, it was Hilltop. No, that was the last. Calvary. Calvary was yeah, it was. So it's really weird in my experience through the night. The
knight.
the dark knight. Oh man.
Yes, your experience.
Fucking silence continent.
Your experience.
What the fuck did I just try to say?
Calvary.
Okay, my experience throughout the night with the graveyards we went to, they just went on a upward swing
I was just saying,
of creepiness.
Yeah,
because
I think they got creepier.
Calvary was meh. It was also a little light. And the fact that it was right next to the football field made it a little easier to swallow. Like, if this is how the other one's going to be, I'll be fine.
Like, it was just on that edge of creepy where there was people nearby, so you're like, meh, but there was the flags were, like, flapping, so every once in a while you'd see movement. You're like,
okay. Again, there's a quick PSA. If you decide to go visit graveyards at night, and there are flags flapping, because not like flagpole flags, but like, you know, the little flags that people put on veterans' graves, it might be one of the creepiest things you see, because if it's dark out, it's very hard to be like, what was that?
Like, to be very distinct about what it is,
Every 10 seconds, you are...
And a flag flapping in the wind in your peripherals looks like a person coming to stab you.
It does. With what would they stab you with, Jake?
Like a spoon.
Like a spork.
Look. So then... after Calvary, hold on real quick before we get off campus, because this is still on campus. I was going to ask, what's Wells Hall?
So there's 2 halls, dorms on that side, and there's Wells East and Wells West. Okay. And
did we walk past those?
We did. They were behind Nylons, so they were like a little bit behind back there. But yeah,
because that was one that popped up a lot for being super haunted.
Yeah, it's super haunted.
So. Did you ever, like, so you said you experienced some, like, microwaves and stuff turning on. Did you ever see, like...
No, but I did have people who lived in Wells, and there's a little girl that lives there, and she...
Like, haunted
Wells.
Ghost girl?
It's the 5th, 6th, and 7th floors. And if you were on those floors, like, stories would be told about, you know, like, I was... drinking one night, and then I, heard this, like, girl laughing, and it's like, okay, well, how much can you trust somebody who's been drinking and then, like, makes that up? But there'd be instances where, like, throughout the same story of the little girl would be running down the hallway, and you'd hear her giggle. And, I mean, I heard that throughout all 4 years that I went to school there. And it was people that I either, like, was really close with, or just, like, people were like, oh, yeah, my brother lives in Wells now, and he heard it, stuff like that, so...
That's fun. So
yeah, super fun, super great.
Super fun.
You're sitting in your dorm room. I was sitting in my boyfriend's dorm room at the time, and the microwave turned on, and I thought he was in the room, and he wasn't. And I turned around, and it was on, And that happened to at least 5 other people that I know that lived in that dorm in Nylons. So, I mean, it's definitely got its creepy stuff, and you like try to like chalk it up to the fact that a lot of those buildings are really old. But I also think that the fact that, I mean, this stuff happens, and I mean, it's been going on for a long time, and it's not like different stuff every time. It's normally the same stuff. It's legit.
I'm just gonna real quick go through just some of the brief, like, I don't know, bullet points of some stuff that's been like well known in Whitewater before we get back to our experiences.
Yeah.
So a few things happened at Whitewater Lake, which we also went to, just to check out. In 1909, in the middle of June, the lake just started having ice on it, which is pretty weird. In 1923, there was some students that were swimming and canoeing out there, and one of them got pulled underwater by something that was described as having tentacles. And then in 1992, there were some people that rented one of the lake houses, and this is the main reason that we went out there. They rented one of the lake houses out there and looked outside, and they saw people dancing on the beach, and kind of went out to see what was going on, and they were kind of doing like a little seance thing, dancing around, and then something gurgled in the water, and then something started coming out, and they booked it out of there. Which is just a weird mash of lake monster, witches, some shit going on.
Yeah, well, especially if someone was with the tentacles, like from earlier too, and just having that like kind of same situation happen.
Yeah. And that's one of the cool things that's kind of with Whitewater is you look into it, because usually you're drawn in by Second Salem witches, but you look and there's hauntings, there's weird spikes in like death and stuff like that, and then there's now lake monsters, and there's just everything sort of that you would want, and it's pretty close to Bray Road. What I was telling Nick when we were walking around the cemetery, which is like it's not in Whitewater, but it's close to Bray Road.
It's close, isn't it?
The Beast of Bray Road is over there, so another thing that's kind of nearby.
There could be possible cryptids.
Yeah, it just seems like it's like a hot spot.
It's a hot spot.
Okay, you two.
A spot of heat.
And they got good Wi-Fi.
They do have some Wi-Fi. Well, and one thing too that I did find is that the town is actually built near Tripp Lake, and what was the other one? Kravith Lake, which apparently in that area is a bunch of Indian burial grounds.
Yeah.
So the whole town is built on the Poltergeist movie.
No, it really is. That's why I said Poltergeist when we were at, because it is. It's a big, like, it's almost like all these things are like happening, like coinciding with each other, right? Like they're all living, well, quote unquote living, but like together in harmony in Whitewater.
I mean, look at just like the founding of it. Essentially, is you have a guy told by a psychic, go there and dig. He goes there. He starts a spiritualist college. Then witches come, and a whole bunch of shit happens. And then there's curses, and now there's lake monsters.
I wish I would have known about the Indian burial ground before going, because I would have pulled a full on Elk Mound Tower and.
Played your racist, uncomfortable.
Yeah. What? No, it was just
It was too.
Like how he looks at me and then goes, "Wait, no."
Two white guys playing Native American music, trying to get Native American ghosts to talk to us.
Do not let this asshole try to fucking fool you. Okay, we were in Elk Mound, and for those of you who haven't listened, go back and listen. And we were trying to conjure up this spirit. It was one of what was like the second or third probing we did. We're still a little, novice at this point.
We still are.
Hush now. The fans don't want to know that. This is 13th probing. They think we're fucking pros, because we are.
Whoa.
Anyway.
Nervous.
Yeah, I played... we were trying to conjure up a ghost, and like nothing was happening. Jake was being really mean, which he's done several times to ghosts, trying to egg them on. Like, Mr. Old Man Weary,
fucking pedophile over there.
He fucking hates your ass.
Fucking pedophile.
Jake eggs that motherfucker on. Like,
if he can touch little kids, he can come touch me. That's what I got to say right there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hashtag too.
So Jake is known for trying to infuriate a ghost. So he tried that tactic. Nothing worked. And then I had the thought. I said, well, let me just try playing some like Indian, like Native American, like tribal rain or dance music.
Sure.
Like, hey, maybe whatever. Maybe they're not English speaking.
Sure.
That didn't work.
It didn't.
I would've.
It was kind of creepy though, because we're sitting up there.
It was a stroke of brilliance in my eyes.
Well, and I purposely didn't tell you about the Indian burial ground thing because I kind of thought it would freak you out more.
You know, weirdly, out of like a lot of like when Pee Pants comes out, that I don't know what it is, but that doesn't. It doesn't.
That kind of thing doesn't bother you?
No, that out of a lot of the stuff, it's not. It's more like comforting, because like Native. Okay, let me just go with me for a second.
Zero white guilt right now.
I was gonna say, but
no, go with me for a second on this voyage, because a lot of in a lot of Native American culture, like they're very spiritual, and I don't have malice in my heart for anything, and I think that they can sense that. And that's like that to me. That's honest to God why like that sort of thing doesn't bother me.
That's fair.
So, what's the difference though between something being built on a Native American burial ground
Or a bunch of dead fucking kids buried in a cemetery?
I wasn't gonna go that far, but sure, I was gonna go to witches.
Well, what
I mean, like,
I mean,
you're
it's
saying
true.
that
Like, what's the
Native
difference
Americans-
between like Native American dead people buried in the ground to walking through a cemetery of white people buried in the ground?